All right, folks, we're going to get started in just a second. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know what we're going to talk about today. Yes, if you don't know, State Representative Shawn Thierry announced yesterday that she is turning in her CRIP flag for a blood flag. She's going from Team Blue to Team Red. We're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into it. And if you would like to chime in on this conversation, I invite you to do so. Uh, yeah, we're going to talk about it. I'm Darrell Douglas. This is the Black House. I am your resident town crier. And yeah, we're gonna get started with all of this in just a second. Such interesting times that we live in. If you would have told me like 2 months ago that any of this stuff would have been reality, I would not have believed you. Um, yeah, things are things are changing, and we're gonna talk about it today. I would love to see your comments. I would love to see what you have going on. And so we're gonna hop right in, and let's watch a little bit of news.
A state representative who's served in the Texas House since 2016 as a Democrat is flipping parties. Representative Shawn Thierry serves part of Houston. She lost her Democratic primary for re-election in March. On social media today, she announced the switch, writing, quote, "The party I once knew has drifted far from its roots. It has become almost unrecognizable, radicalized, and increasingly out of touch with the values that millions of everyday Americans hold dear," end quote. Thierry faced pushback from her own party last year when she joined Republicans to vote for Senate Bill 14, which bans gender-affirming care for minors. At the time, Thierry said her vote was, quote, "a decision to place the safety and well-being of all young people over the comfort of political expediency," end quote.
Yeah, there's the news. I just went to let somebody in. Dog barking, lock, the whole thing. Shut up. And so we're gonna watch it again. If you're just tuning in, it is Darrell Douglas. This is the Black House podcast, and we're gonna be a little messy this morning. We're gonna be a little messy. Permission to be raggedy. Let's watch that one more time. We see Chelsea Johnson says, "Wow, let's watch this one more time."
A state representative who's served in the Texas House since 2016 as a Democrat is
served in the Texas House since 2016 as a Democrat. Now, before we chime in, I see Adrian Bell says, "Ha ha." Let's go back to that because I remember this very, and y'all will too. If you don't remember, I will remember you. I'll help you remember. So the year is 2016, and long-serving county commissioner of Franco Lee passes away suddenly, right? And we have this very interesting rule here in the state of Texas where if someone passes away after the primary, but before the general election, you pretty much the precinct chairs of that party get to replace that person on the ballot, right? So we just recently saw that with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And the way these things are sort of gerrymandered, if a little bit of what do they call it? Get rid of the lingo, right? We don't have to use acronyms for everything. My dog will not shut up. Okay. So a little bit gerrymandering. So when they draw these districts, they make it to where certain districts are going to be red and certain districts are going to be blue. My dog who won't shut up in there, if he were nominated as a Democrat for the 18th congressional district, he would win. He would be congressman elect. I mean, right? Like that's the way it works. So Franco Lee passes away. Senator Rodney Ellis takes his place. Everybody just does the hopscotch kind of, right? Senator Ellis becomes Commissioner Ellis. And now there's a Senate seat that's open. State Rep Boris Miles at the time takes that Senate seat, and now there's a state rep seat open. Y'all, if you remember, Erica Lee, the daughter of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, was running for that seat, and I thought she had it in the bag. I thought it was a done deal. I mean, you have Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She was taking these precinct chairs to Golden Corral. I literally saw that on Facebook, on Erica's page. They were the Golden Corral over there by Reliance Stadium, and I was like, well, there's that. State Representative elect Erica Lee. Well, apparently not, because some of Erica's folks didn't show up. Shawn Thierry ends up replacing Boris Miles on that ballot since he had ascended to state senate, and now we have Shawn Thierry. So let's first of all acknowledge that Shawn Thierry, yes, my dog wants to make their debut. I would bring him in here, Josh. I would bring him in. No, here's why he's barking. We're going to take a little aside. I have somebody who was coming by, right? So if you've been over here, you know it's kind of a to-do to get up here. Like you have to check in at the desk and blah, blah, blah. So I thought ahead because I wanted to be messy this morning. I wanted to talk about this. And I was like, okay. I let downstairs know when my guest gets here, let them up. But they couldn't figure out how to get in the door. It's a mess. But that's why he's barking, because he heard someone knock and then he heard them come in and he just wants to know like who that is. But yes, Josh, that is exactly what that is. Put in the comments right now if you remember. Do you remember when we fell in love? It was 2016 when she won that seat. Okay. So she didn't have to campaign for it. She just pretty much got it, right? So fast forward, she's had a few. So since 2016, she ran again in 2018, again in 2020, and then in 2022. She's never had any serious competition. Has she had competition? Yes, but not serious competition, right? It's kind of like when like Prairie View plays Texas A&M. Come on, is that really a football game? And that's pretty much what it is when someone is running against, like, yeah, you're running against an incumbent. Yeah, so she is out of there. And this is the picture. Let me tell you, there are some folks, and I don't see any of them in here. Jen Gott says, first, Ogg endorses Cruz. Now, Thierry joins the Republican Party. Hashtag sore losers. You know, here's what's interesting with all of that. It's like, you know, she gets in, she's got this seat, she's never had any real competition. And then most recently, and I'm going to play this, there was a bill that came up. I'm not even going to chat about it. I'm going to let them people tell you about it.
Bit of politics now in the Democratic House runoff to represent much of Southwest Houston at the state capitol. Major issues like jobs, crime, and public safety has now been eclipsed by health care for kids seeking gender transition. Fox 26 political reporter Greg Grugan here in studio to explain how this controversial topic has now taken front and center to dominate this local race, Greg.
Yeah, Anthony, when mostly Republican Texas lawmakers voted to restrict gender-altering medical procedures to people over the age of 18, Representative Shawn Thierry stood with them, and she's been under siege from fellow Democrats ever since. Four-term state representative Shawn Thierry is fighting to keep her job. A battle for political survival triggered by a single vote of conscience on the floor of the Texas House.
I absolutely believe we should raise the age to 18 for children to receive GnRH analogs, cross-sex hormones, and to undergo potential irreversible body-altering surgeries.
Now, y'all just heard a little piece of what it was about. Essentially, Representative Thierry decided to vote in favor of a bill that would limit trans surgery, medical procedures for those under the age of 18. It would basically like ban it. Now, what's interesting is she was not the only Democrat that voted against this, right? she was not the only Democrat against it. And the way it works, whether we're talking about the state legislature, whether we're talking about the halls of Congress, the House or the Senate, even whether we're talking about city council or the county commission, that's where laws, ordinances, that's where government governs, right? And essentially, the way it works, proposals are put forward and there are amendments, or there are, let's call them suggestions, that are put forth, um, to, sometimes you say, you know what, I'm against this, but if you change this one thing about it, I might be for it, right? So things come before committee first, and usually in that committee, you have amendments, right? And then if you can get 5 out of 9, right, meaning 5 of the 9 reps on your side, and if you have the chair like in your favor, your bill is pretty good. But there's so many other hoops that a bill must go through before it gets to this point right here, right? Before you're on the floor of the House. There's a lot. Like sometimes your bill can go through the committee, it can pass unanimously. Like you can get 9 out of 9, but if there's some reason for that, like maybe it doesn't pass in the Senate. If it starts in the Senate, it doesn't pass in the House. Sometimes you get both of those, and it still doesn't make it. There's a lot of procedure that goes on between all of these decisions happening, and that's where a lot of the sausage gets made, so to speak. But here's where I think Representative Thierry went wrong. And we're going to talk a little later about how she actually, um, just switched to the Republican Party yesterday. And we're going to read her press release. We're going to do all of that. So just hang on. I think she missed the mark where, and I'm going to put this back up for all those people that are scrolling by and they're like, what is he talking about today? You see the picture, you'll know. Here's where I think she missed the mark. I think as a representative, you have to be able to, even when you take a difficult vote, even when you make a vote that is not so popular, you have to be able to explain it. And you have to be able to go to your people first and explain yourself the same way you have to explain yourself to the other people on the committee in order to get it out of committee. The same way you have to explain it to the people on the floor of the House, in your caucus, out of your caucus, right? You need to be able to go to, where does she represent? Sunnyside. You need to be able to go to Sunnyside and say, here's this thing, and here's why I'm voting this way. You need to be able to go to Hiram Clark and say, here's why I'm voting this way, and here's what it is. And you need to be able to answer people's questions. That way, when the primary happens, you have enough people that even if they did not agree with you, understand your angle, right? And can speak up for you, because you cannot speak up for yourself in all these different rooms, right? What's better than the owner of a restaurant saying, my food is so good? You know what's better than that? Somebody else saying it for you. And you know what's even better than that? Not only somebody else saying it for you, but somebody who you know and trust saying it for you. And I think that's where Shawn Thierry missed the mark. And I think that's where Kim Ogg, who also very interestingly took this same turn. Lachelle says she's been moving foul and the ledge for a while. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. Lachelle, I would love to hear more about how you thought she was moving foul. I think she was a willing member of the Democratic caucus. I don't see too many areas where she veered too far away from capital D Democratic ledge stuff in the legislature. And for all intents and purposes, I personally don't believe that any area of government works best when you have a supermajority on any side. Honestly, no matter which side, I think the best cookout to go to, the best potluck to go to, is the one where everybody gets to bring something and nobody gets left out, right? So I don't want this conversation to turn into It's blood in, blood out. And if you're a Democrat, you must do A, B, and C. And if you're a Republican, you must do A, B, and C, because that's not what democracy is about. At least that's not what I believe our democracy is about. I don't believe that we should be willing members of cults that make decisions for us. I don't believe that dissent should be something frowned upon. In fact, I think it should be something that should be encouraged. And so all this talk about, traitor, this and save it, right? Like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'm supporting Kamala Harris personally for president, but I don't agree with the entire Democratic platform. I do not, right? There are many pieces that I'm like, are you serious? And I want to actually pull up her press release, because it was really, really interesting what she said. She sort of pointed out the fact, and I've heard this many times before. We're going to pull up that press release. I mean, it is pretty big news. She's not the first Democrat to actually move to the Republican Party. Even in the state of Texas earlier this year, I believe it was that we saw Mayor Eric Johnson, who used to be a member of the Texas House in the Dallas area. He then became mayor of Dallas, opened up that seat, House District 100. Y'all see the way I spit this shit out like that? Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm living in the black house. He becomes mayor. Jasmine Crockett takes his seat. Eddie Bernice Johnson passes away. Jasmine takes her seat, and Venton Jones is now in that seat in the House, and he's going to make that is a leapfrog position. He's probably going to end up being mayor or something, or member of Congress or something. That's a great seat to have. But let's look at Shawn Thierry's press release. Thank you, Jen, for your point. And of course, there's a paywall with the Dallas Morning News. So Thierry bucked Democrats by supporting a ban on gender-affirming care for minors last year, drawing the ire of LGBTQ groups that organized to oust her. I think that's putting it lightly. I don't think she was ousted. I think she was trounced. I mean, to be a sitting state rep, to be drug into a runoff. It was pretty close at the runoff, but she was handedly dismissed. We'll say that. She lost her Democratic primary runoff in May to Lauren Ashley Simmons, and her term in the Texas legislature expires in January. Referring to herself as a lifelong Democrat in a lengthy statement, Thierry said that the party moved too far left by supporting policies that she cannot. Let's pause there. She said the party moved too far left by supporting policies she cannot, such as gender-affirming care for minors and a lack of protections for women's sports. Quote, I've watched with dismay as the party I once knew has drifted far from its roots, Thierry said. It has become almost unrecognizable, she continues. She says she has seen firsthand how liberal Democrats stifle debate and silence dissent. Ooh, I just said that. I didn't read this first, actually. But that is, I think, a very interesting point to make. Here's what cannot happen. And here's what will make sure that Democrats lose either nationally, statewide, and in elections like this. Here's what it cannot be. It cannot be that you must do A, B, and C wholeheartedly without dissent. And if you don't, then we'll take our ball and we'll go home. And we'll call you names. We'll call you, a bigot, racist. Interesting. I was called anti-LGBTQ, and I'm LGBTQ myself, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever. If you know, you know. But but this is the direction that you cannot go, because then you become the closed-minded people that you claim to dislike. So that word bigot gets thrown around. I'm going to actually pull it up. A bigot is, and this is from dictionary.com, so I'm not making this shit up. A bigot is a person who is obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic toward a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. Sound familiar? Sounds like a lot of the people that are throwing a lot of ire at Shawn Thierry. Sounds a lot like it. Now, I don't have a dog in this fight. My dog is in my bedroom and he stopped barking a little while ago. But here's the thing. If she wants to be Republican, let her be Republican. You don't have to be. Isn't that part of the Democratic Party's make your own decisions thing? Or is it not? Or do we just say that? Do we just say it when it's convenient, and then when someone disagrees with us, we put on our claws and we call them every name in the book? Think deeper. Zoom out, please. I beg of you. Some of y'all are smarter than this. And it's evident of why our democracy, which by appearances is slowly crumbling away, is doing so not because people aren't choosing the right side. I think it's because people aren't thinking and making decisions for themselves. And we have this sort of group think silo where there's just an echo chamber and you're basically just yelling things out and you're not listening. Because I look at it like this. I am choosing to vote for personally, and I'm gonna show you how personally it is. This way, you'll see Kamala Harris right there, right? She's in the background. I'm voting for her. But does that mean that I think that anyone who supports Trump is a devil or a demon? No, I just disagree with them. And I personally believe that you have more in common with the people who you disagree with if you shut up and listen to each other. And then what starts to happen is there's this cross-pollination that can happen where you'll go, you know what? I never thought about it that way. And then they'll go, and I never thought about it that way. If you'd like to join me, send me an inbox. I will send you the link and you can be right there. Wait, because it's kind of reversed. It's weird. So I have to remember that it's over my shoulder. It's right there. You can be right there and you can take part in this discussion. Lachelle Scott says she can go, no love lost, but she had a bad habit of deleting comments and blocking people who didn't agree with her. That's a problem, right? But she can do it. I delete people. Half of y'all are unfollowed on my feed right now because y'all run my blood pressure up. We're still friends, but I don't like your content. I can do that. It's a free country. If you would like to join, send me an inbox and you can be in the box over there. But yes, that is the bigger story. We're gonna continue. If you are just joining, we're talking about all things Shawn Thierry, and we're kind of zooming out a bit. Are you in a hurry? You good? Are you enjoying the show? You're like my one audience member. You can feel free to like chime in and stuff. Yeah, live studio audience. I didn't even plan on doing this. I was like, you know what? Let's talk about this because I got too many text messages. Yeah, so that is very good. Let's go ahead. If you're just joining, we're talking about the fact that Shawn Thierry, state representative from House District 146, I think it's 146. Yes, she was once a Crip and now she's a Blood. She don't say what's cracking. She asks what's popping, right? She comes in, she's like, what up, Blood? Right? That's what Shawn Thierry's doing now because she switched gangs. I would love to know who would I have to ask because I would assume these different fraternities and sororities have like a process to like get jumped in and jumped out. Did she have to get jumped out? I wonder. If you're just joining, we're gonna go ahead and play it one more time.
Flipping parties. Representative A state representative who's served in the Texas House since 2016 as a Democrat is flipping parties. Representative Shawn Thierry serves part of Houston. She lost her Democratic primary for re-election in March. On social media today, she announced the switch, writing, quote, "The party I once knew has drifted far from its roots. It has become almost unrecognizable, radicalized, and increasingly out of touch with the values that millions of everyday Americans hold dear." And
Okay. I just got that part again. Let's replay this last part because, like, this is one of those things where, like, you hear it and then you hear it again. Let's listen here. Let's listen here.
increasingly out of touch with the values
She
that
says,
drifted far from its roots. On social media today, she announced the switch, writing, quote, "The party I once knew has drifted far from its roots. It has become almost unrecognizable, radicalized, and increasingly out of touch with the values that millions of everyday Americans hold dear."
become radicalized and increasingly out of touch with the values that millions of everyday Americans hold dear. Here's the thing, and this is my honest opinion. I think there has to be, not that there has to be, that there is. Can you reach in the refrigerator and pass me another one of these? You didn't know you were going to be a production assistant today. Um, by the way, y'all, that's what I was going to say, Lachelle. I was going to say it sounds a lot like, and these things are the bomb. If y'all go to HEB, if you like cold brew or the nitro cold brew that Starbucks has, like this is it is so smooth and it's like a third of the cost of going to Starbucks. But yes, Lachelle, radicalized sounds like a GOP, not only a GOP talking point, it sounds very much like the GOP. Now, I will throw shade at both parties because I'm not a member of a cult, right? And I can do that. It's a free country, right? But when I think radicalized, what immediately comes to mind to me, are Trumpsters. Like they listen. I know some of y'all, some of the people of the Democrats, I mean, some of y'all, especially some of these precinct chairs, y'all can be cult-ish, right? But whew, on the right, oh my gosh, these Trumpers. And I wonder, y'all ever hear the old adage that goes like, you put the frog in the water and you slowly raise the water, you praise the temp, and so like when it's boiling, he doesn't recognize it, and then it's too late. That's what GOP here recently. That's what GOP gives me. But yes, Lachelle, that's why I'm on 1,000. I'm on 1,000 most times, actually.
End quote. Thierry faced pushback from her own party last year when she joined Republicans to vote for Senate Bill 14, which bans gender-affirming care for minors.
I will also say this. For those of y'all that are really, really, really into politics, there's like, okay, I'll use another analogy because like some people may not be as involved. Like I've worked in the ledge, I've lobbied in the ledge, I've run for the ledge in a different state. So let me break it down. When you go to a restaurant, they have the front of the house and the back of the house, right? The front of the house is like the hostess or the host who wears a nice jacket and da, 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 da. And there's music and everything on the front of the house is nice, right? Um, Everyone's uniform is clean. The waiters or waitresses, the bartenders, no matter how insane it is to work there, they put on a smile and they come and they ask you, would you like to try the salmon? Right? Oh, but the back of the house. In order to get that pan-seared salmon, there's blood on the floor back there. There's a bag of mildewed garbage that's leaking, being drugged through the food prep area so that it can get to the dumpster in time, right? There's a lot of stuff that you don't see at the back of the house. Now, using that metaphor to talk about what happens with this, before a bill is even presented, there's a lot of conversation that happens, right? There's a whole lot of conversation that happens amongst the representatives, amongst their staffs. So 9 times out of 10, when you see someone make a statement or you see someone put something out, I want you to remember this. This is not happenstance. They didn't type this up on the way to the meeting. It was put in front of other people. There's a lot of conversations that go on. And I do find it very, I'll say, concerning when a member of either party publicly shows dissent against their caucus or against their colleagues, right? Another example of this, and I wonder if I can get this video up quick enough. Probably not. But we got to talk about Lena Hidalgo, County Judge Lena Hidalgo, because she was unhinged at one of the meetings. Unhinged, okay? And what you see in public, like, think about this. The last time you went to brunch or to dinner with like your favorite friend and, you know, their like partner or their wife or whatever, and if they're arguing at the dinner table in public, you just know it's WWE at home. You just know it, right? If they are publicly displaying their disagreement, then you just know it's just not popping. And that is a huge part of it. We're going to let this continue to play. And then
at the time, Thierry said her vote was, quote, a decision to place the safety and well-being of all young people over the comfort of political expediency, end quote.
Well, I disagree. I think, and for those of y'all that are watching, her announcement to join the Republican Party, if you think back, a few weeks ago, I saw an article that announced that she was hired by a right-wing like think tank. That's usually what happens. A lot of these reps, you know, you serve in the ledge, you serve at least, I don't know, what is it, 8 years, 10 years, and you get that good pension. A lot of people don't know this, but state reps and state senators in the state of Texas only get $700 per month. And while that may sound like a noble thing, like, oh, they're doing it for free, they're not doing it for free. They're not doing it for free. If you ask me, paying state legislators $700 a month means that only the rich, only the self-made or self-employed can be part of the, you know, government of your state. And I don't think that is the way to go. There's another brother who talks about some of this stuff. I mean, Shawn Thierry she's on a lot of people's lists. Let's see what this brother has to say.
On the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, there is some interesting news that just happened here in Texas. So Representative Shawn Thierry, she was a Democrat, and she's been in the Texas state government since 2017. She has been a Democrat the whole time. She's been a Democrat her whole life. Well, recently, Representative Shawn Thierry was running for office, and the Democrats decided to bring up someone to run against her, against her seat. Why did they do this? Because Representative Shawn Thierry decided to support a bill.
Brother, it's theory. Theory, not theory. But continue.
With the Republicans where underage children could not do any kind of gender reassignment treatments or surgery in the state of Texas. And because she did that, the Democrats came after her, sent sister girl Jasmine Crockett to even campaign against her.
Oh my gosh. Did y'all hear that? He said sister girl Jasmine Crockett. The shade. The shade. The absolute shade. Let's see it. I'm going to take this out so you can hear it too. He said sister girl Jasmine Crockett. Y'all get off Representative Crockett. She's one of my faves.
And she ended up losing her election. Now, after she lost the election, something happened. Well, she decided to get away from the Democrat Party, and this is the announcement that has a lot of Texas Democrats shocked and upset.
I was raised in a household with parents who believed that the Democratic Party was the party of the people. They believed it was the party that provided opportunity and believed in the American dream. Mm-hmm. But as the years have passed, I have watched with dismay the party that I once knew drift very far from its fundamental roots. It has become almost unrecognizable, radicalized, and increasingly out of touch with the values of millions of everyday Americans.
Let's look at where she is right there. What does that say? And by the way, is the sound good, Lachelle? Let me know if the sound is good. That looks like, let me put my glasses on because I can barely see that little print right there. So that is, what is that? Can y'all read that? Moms for Liberty. That's like a code word that they use. Anytime that you hear like liberty, heritage, dog whistle much? Liberty, heritage. What's another one of their favorite things that they like to say? And the left has them too, right? Justice, right? Urban, inner city. What are some of their other? Anytime you see liberty, when I see liberty, it's almost like when I see the American flag hanging outside the porch, and I see the F-150 in the driveway, I just assume Trump supporter. I just assume, or Chevy Silverado. You know, if I see a Tesla or a Toyota Prius with a bunch of bumper stickers, and let's see, what is a telltale sign? Like a Black Lives Matter or a rainbow flag, or what's another thing? America First? Oh, that's on the on the right. On the left? Yeah, that's on the right. Yeah, there are some. They're the ones that are against school boards. They're against, yeah, it's like liberty until tolerance, right? Like it's liberty until you disagree with me, and then like no liberty. Like, oh, you want to make decisions about your own body? Like, no, of course not. But let's continue.
The Democratic Party has veered so far left, so deep into the progressive abyss, that it now champions policies of.
Josh Micah says patriot. Yes, that is another one. Y'all comment below. What are some of the telltale signs when you hear certain words that are either left or right? I mean, I will say this, and I'm gonna try to pull it up. Do y'all remember Django Unchained? Okay, y'all know I'm looking for the image. With, and of course I can, like, I'm googling it and I cannot find it. There's the one where, what's his name? Where's this thing? Y'all remember? Like, here's what that sort of reminds me of. I'm gonna save this image. You know, they have this really crazy thing where you have to put it in a slide in order to do the thing, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work. I'm gonna insert this because the image that I'm thinking of, let's see, it's not even gonna do it for me. But y'all know which image I'm thinking of. When I see this right here, when I see that, and no disrespect to Representative Thierry, I called her this morning. I called Representative Thierry this morning and I left a message. I know her phone has been blowing up because she's hot stuff right now. She's probably going to be on Fox News later. See, when you make a change like that, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. It's like, no. She's probably going to have a book. She's probably going to have a book. Y'all mark my words. Because when you have this right here, okay, right? The handshake with the little head to the side, right? She's going to have a book. And she's probably going to go on a Candace Owens-esque tour where she's going to do her little dance for the Republicans because they really need it now. Since Kamala Harris entered this race, it's like she just let all the air out over there. They are just grasping for straws on the right at this point. But let's continue. Back with
in good conscience support.
Can y'all hear this, Lachelle, by the way?
Policies like promoting sex changes for vulnerable children, dismantling Title IX protections for women and girls in sports. This is not the party that I grew up with. I have witnessed firsthand.
So, very interesting take from Lachelle. Lachelle says, I think she's going to run as a Republican. I don't think so. Because that district that she lives in, it's a very blue district. So, like, she can't run as a Republican in that district. Like, you could put $5 million. It would probably take like $5 million, and it would be close, right? I don't think maybe she will move. Lachelle says. Here's what I think would probably be more likely. I could see them, and it makes sense, right? If I'm in the Republican Party and a state rep from the Dems has announced that they're changing and it's an election year, she could easily get bumped up. Like, they will find a state Senate seat or a congressional seat for her to run in as a Republican, one that is already red. And I could see how, like, if you really zoom out, a lot of people are like, oh, she committed political suicide. No, she didn't. No, she did. She may have sold her soul, but it's not political suicide. It was a political investment. Like, if you take your feelings out of it, if you're a politician in the state of Texas at this point, okay, she's probably going to run for Congress. She's going to move. You can run in the state of Texas. You can live here and run for a congressional seat in El Paso. You don't have to live in the district to run for Congress, right? She's going to probably write a book. Like, they have carefully, she doesn't have to move, Lachelle. She will keep her same. She got a nice house in Third Ward. She got a very nice home. Very nice. And she's probably going to get a nicer one now, right? So I don't think it was political suicide. And to be clear, I don't think that she doesn't believe what she believes. I believe that she honestly believes what she believes. And I wish that we would, let's see. Vernon says, I wonder how Black feel who was just supporting her as a Dem and working on her behalf to be elected. That is very true. Like, imagine supporting someone, and then, like, they run on this platform, because we just saw with Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson, in Dallas, who was also a Black Democratic state rep, became the mayor of Dallas, and then he switched parties. And it's like, and then not only did he switch parties, he's in the RNC bragging about how he is the mayor of the largest Republican-run city. They did not elect you as a Republican. They elected you as a Democrat. Let's be honest. He's another one that watch, because they're term limited municipalities here. So that means you can't be mayor forever in Houston or Dallas. There's a term limit, and he will run for Congress. He rolled his dice and he said, you know what? I've hit that ceiling, right? And you see this sometimes. You see people that will run for one thing and then they'll do another. Sometimes that works out. I'll use this example. Let's look at State Rep Jolanda Jones, who I love. Let me tell you something. I was hoping, and I told her this too. I was hoping that Jolanda Jones, there are a couple of people on my short list. Jolanda was one, Ed Pollard was another. Balloons. I guess, I don't know, it's like Zoom does that. Ed Pollard and Jolanda Jones, I would have loved. Really, my number one pick would have been Erica Lee to run to replace Sheila Jackson Lee. But I think Jolanda or Ed Pollard or Tiffany Thomas. Tiffany Thomas gives me Barbara Jordan. The way she eats them up down on Bagby at City Hall, she eats them up. And she's just, I'm so proud of her. But Jolanda was a member of city council at large. And if y'all remember, back then, city council ran for 2-year terms, and they could only run for three times. So you would get 6 years. So she represented at large, and then she was taken to a runoff. And all my politicos know, if you're an incumbent and you get drugged into a runoff, hope you got some insurance, because it's going to be a funeral soon, right? If you get drugged into a runoff, because here's what happens. Everybody knows when election day is, but now you have a special election where you got to get your people back out. And your people are probably the people that just regularly vote. And a lot of people are going to stay at home thinking like, oh, she got it. And that's what happened with Jolanda. So she lost her last run at city council. And then she was on the school board and she represented us there. Wait till y'all see this new Houston Justice t-shirt that we're putting out. On the back, y'all know the shirt that says like dream like Martin, fight like Malcolm, like all that. It's that, but it's for Houston people. So Jolanda's on there, Tiffany's on there, Ed is on there, Sheila's on there. Yeah, y'all are going to eat it up when it comes out. But back to what we're talking about. She is going to, I think she's betting on being able to switch genres. That's what she's betting on. Beyonce put out a country album, right? Beyonce said, what do I have to do to get album of the year? Y'all want me to yodel? I got friends in low places where the whiskey flows and the I got friends in low places. She said, y'all want that? I'll do it. I'll do it, right? It's almost like when you beat the game, like you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you beat the game, right? So that's what Shawn Thierry is doing. She's like, oh, y'all don't like me over here? Y'all don't like me over here? I will switch parties. Bernie says, please so messed up. Listen, here's the thing. She was like, I'm gonna switch parties. I'm gonna get a photo op with the governor. I guarantee you that place that you give me another one of these. Y'all wonder why I'm so amped up. It's nitro cold brew from HEB. You give me another one of these, please. She's like, yeah, she'll put out a book. She'll put out a book. And y'all never really got to see it, but Shawn is actually very personable and very like entertaining. She could be the next Candace Owens. She could be the Texas Candace Owens. But yes, back to this. Let's continue hearing what she had to say.
How the so-called liberal left now stifles thoughtful debate, silencing dissent with an iron fist, demanding blind allegiance to an ideology where one must comply or be cast out.
Okay, here's the thing. I will say this. I consider myself to be progressive. I do not 100% agree with everything that's on every organization's progressive agenda. Okay. There's a local organization here in Houston that currently has a campaign that they're pushing that I sort of disagree with, right? And I disagree because I look at things with uh I look at things with you look at things through the lens that you have, right? So like these are my glasses, they make me see better. But if I gave them to you, you wouldn't see what I see, right? So like for those of y'all that don't know, my very first job out of um high school was working for the Texas prison system. Ooh, if you know, you know. So when it comes to looking at things like the defund movement, I don't think that button moves that machine. Does that make sense? Like, do we need more resources for social programs? Absolutely. Do we need more accountability when it comes to police? Yes. But I've been part of uses of force. I've led uses of force, and so I have a different view. It's almost like I was at this dinner not too long ago, and Kayla Brown, who's Carla Brown's twin, Kayla Brown, who just retired as a teacher. She was an educator for like damn near 30 years. And this lady who like has never taught a day in her life was arguing with her about like the school system. It's like, ma'am, read the room. Read the room, right? So I disagree because like I've seen things from that vantage point. You will never hear me publicly bash them. Why? Because you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Does that make sense? Do I believe if you were to say how many people in America? It's like how many? 300 million of us roughly? Yes, probably, kind of sort of. Okay. Is Kamala Harris my top pick if we're talking open like election? No. Mm-mm. No, not at all. But guess what? Guess what? I got over there. I got over there. You know why? Because I see this as an opportunity, and we very rarely get these opportunities where my people are paying attention to the moment. So guess what? We're going to get her elected and we're going to build more community and we're going to bring more people into the fold so that we can hold her and everybody else accountable. Does that make sense? So I sort of look at like this long game thing. But back to Shawn Thierry.
That is not the party that I agree to support and represent. The renowned poet Maya Angelou so powerfully said, instead of
No, she's not quoting Maya Angelou. No, she is not quoting Maya Angelou in 2024 with a black woman at the top of the ticket. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She's quoting Maya Angelou. She is rolling it over in her grave. Whew. Okay, let's continue.
said, when you know better, you do better. And so it is today, at such a time as this, that I am officially announcing that I am leaving the ranks and the rancor of the Democrat Party. Thank you. I now stand with the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, the party.
Oh my gosh, the party of Lincoln. Here's what it reminds me of. Do y'all remember? Oh my gosh, this really hurts. Like I'd never seen that until y'all just saw it. And Shawn, whew. Do y'all remember when Trump was running and Ted Cruz was running? And Ted Cruz was like in second place. And like Ted Cruz was like the Republican that like the old guard Republicans wanted, and Trump like had this momentum. And so like Trump just started like lambasting Ted Cruz, like talking about him, his wife, his dad. And so Ted Cruz at the RNC, the Republican National Convention that year, didn't endorse him. He like went off script and told the attendees to vote their conscience. And it was like, okay, I disagree with 99.8% of Ted Cruz, but he stood up for himself. And then guess what? Guess what? It wasn't 2 weeks later, he was in that photo, and I wish I should have had these photos. I didn't know I was going to talk about all this though. There's that photo of him making calls for Trump. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like, if we fall out like that, don't speak to me at an event. Like, if we fall out, and you see me at brunch, keep it pushing. Please keep it pushing. Don't even acknowledge me because I will pretend you're not there, right? Thank you. Lachelle says, nice blaze. Let me tell you something. I got like 6 of these in their suits. So you'll be seeing me. I got plaid, I got pinstripe. You'll see. But Elizabeth Johnson, who's getting married, her new name is going to be Elizabeth Anumale. She is hosting her bridal shower here at, see it up there, the Black House. And so she's downstairs. I'm going to go get her. This has been fun. We probably should do this more often. This was kind of fun. Comment below what you thought and send me an inbox if you want to be part of the panel. I think this works funner as a panel. But with that, adios.